today's meetings at the G7. I'm joined on set by Bill Taylor, the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine and vice president for Russia and Europe at the U.S. Institute of Peace. Ambassador Taylor, always nice to see you in person as opposed to via satellite. Let me just get to it with you. This 10-year security agreement announced today. What is the simple message the president is trying to send to America's allies and to its adversaries with this announcement?
Strong message is we are there to support Ukraine. We are not getting tired. We are going to continue this support. The support is on the military side. It's on intelligence side. It's on training. It's also on the economic side. Sanctions were mentioned in this report. So this is a demonstration of U.S. commitment to this cause.
So I want to follow up on that, and I want to remind the audience who's seeing you, and they're like, I think I know that, Ambassador. You of course, served as chargé to Ukraine during the Trump administration when the former president issued what was described as a quid pro quo on Ukraine aid in exchange for damaging information on the Biden family, something he was impeached for, was later acquitted. But as you know, President Biden and Zelensky, they signed this agreement today, and there's a big sense broadly in the conversations I had with foreign leaders when I was traveling with him at the D-Day commemorations last week in France that there's real concern about what happens if there is a second Trump term right now. How much of this was to sort of Trump-proof things, and how much of this was sort of focused on that desire to tell allies, hey, we recognize your concerns and we're trying to accommodate those?
I think the main purpose of this agreement is to demonstrate long-term support. Yes.
Could Donald Trump come in as the next president, I guess, is a simple question. Say, you know what, I've made it clear I want more money from our European allies. I don't think we should be spending more money on Ukraine. I said I'd get it done on day one. That means Ukraine has to settle for the losses it has, and we're done here.
Peter, he could say that. He probably won't. We don't know what's in his head about this. He's given, as you've indicated, different messages on Ukraine. He allowed that $61 billion to go through. He supported the speaker when the speaker was trying to push it through. So right. There's some indications there. But this is binding on this administration. This agreement is an executive agreement. It's a binding it has the force of law for this administration. But the next administration could come in and change it. There's no doubt about that. And Europeans are concerned about that. The Ukrainians are concerned about that. They are doing what they can to prepare. In either case, President Zelensky was asked this question, and he said, the U.S. people, the American people, they support this. And he's right about that. And the Congress supports that. And he's right about that. So he is hoping that any president will reflect that interest.
There was a big announcement that came out of the G7 today. This, of course, is about the $50 billion loan that was agreed to by these allies. They say it would be backed up by frozen Russian assets right now. Is that doable? Walk us through the desire there.
It's definitely doable. So
it hasn't been done before, I guess.
It has not been done before. And a lot of legal work has gone into this. And now the legal issues seem to have been addressed. There's some political work, and that seems to be addressed. So the Europeans and the Americans now, to be fair, the Biden administration was not initially on board on this. They've looked at it, and they've concluded this is a good idea. They've concluded that this money, this is Russian central bank money. This belongs to the Russian government, not to any individual. It's the Russian, and the Russians are the ones that have damaged Ukraine. It makes sense for them to pay for the reconstruction. So how to do that, and a lot of different ideas. This one is a pretty innovative idea. There's about $280 billion sitting in frozen accounts, mostly in Belgium, interestingly enough, where it's drawing interest. That interest is about $3 billion a year. That $3 billion a year can pay the premiums on a loan. We Americans are going to provide this loan. We'll take the interest from this $300 billion, $280 billion, $3 billion a year, and pay it back, and that will allow the loan to be $50 billion.
Let me ask you a quick question about the American journalist from the Wall Street Journal, Evan Gershkovich, who, of course, has been held, wrongly detained by the Russians for far too long at this point. We know now today that there is going to be a trial, the Russians said, for him. Who knows exactly when that takes place. With Brittany Griner, there needed to be a trial so they could have that conviction before they were willing to turn her over in an exchange with the U.S. Does that give you some hope that we are nearing resolution for Evan?
That's been the pattern. A swap makes some sense. I don't know who's involved in the other side. But once a conviction has come through, which is almost foregone, then they could move to the next stage.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. I appreciate it, Ambassador.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.